Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for April 13th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 15. I am Merwat, and I am without the sentient AI from the future today. They're recompiling their code or something. I don't know. They don't really tell me what's going on, but they'll be back probably tomorrow, maybe later today. It really depends on how fast they get done with their sentient AI from the future work. I don't know. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Metal Eden, Fast Hands, Minecraft's End update, or Minecraft's End. Anyway, 450, 430, and Blueprints is meta mist-like, and I love the game. We'll talk about it on the other side of this because everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen, and you'll be able to deal with all of this news, manage your information overload. It's all news, no noise. Conversation is actually pretty limited even on the site, but conversation takes place here on the shows on YouTube and on Twitch, Discord, Patreon, the podcast, etc., wherever y'all want to. But I really like talking about the news live, and so the summer of stream is going to consist of upwards of 8 hours of show where I parse all of the news that is being aggregated into ohmtown.com in our 4th year. I'm hoping to grow the channel dramatically this summer, and I hope to see you there. Again, everything is powered by ohmtown, so this is our intro. All right, so we got 5 articles. I already gave you what the titles I assigned, but the real titles are on the other side of this. So let's get into it. The first article is over on the Marble channel. Metal Eden looks like everything that this author loves about Doom in an extremely sci-fi package. The author here, it's over at Vice, but they say that they love it when people put them onto a game that they didn't know about, and Metal Eden now squarely is in their crosshairs. The sci-fi element alone would have gotten them to lock into this, but throwing the boomer shooter speed and violence on it was enough to get them to wish list it immediately. And there's a quote here. It doesn't actually end, so let's just actually go over to the source. Anthony Franklin II put the article together, and it says, dive into cybernetic warfare against the machine forces that protect the secrets of an artificial world. Fight a diverse roster of tough, agile mecha troops and elemental forces. Extract energy cores and destroy the internal defense core shields to gain a battle zone advantage. Develop your arsenal and combat capabilities to become an unstoppable hyper unit, says the Steam page on Metal Eden. So it says, wait, did you also get Titanfall in Metal Eden? I suppose you actually can go and check this out. There is a link. If you want today's articles, you can hit !WC for WarCrafters, and Omatron will spit the articles out in the order that we're going to talk about them. But that's not really the order of where you may value them. It's not a top list or anything like that. It's just how they were aggregated. So they say that they started the Metal Eden demo on their laptop before it became very obvious very quickly that it wasn't ready for the game. So they downloaded it onto their PlayStation, and they say that they they were impressed. So the movement is smooth and appropriately fast. And on top of that, we can do some wall running Titanfall style, and that they can't wait to go find the gameplay clips of this and find out more about it. So what's going to make Metal Eden stand out, though, is what it does with its weapons. There's a pretty big opportunity to get creative with the guns and mods in the game, but coming from Rycon Games, the people who made Ruiner, they really have no reason to doubt what they can do to make the gunplay feel good. There's a demo out right now. It says it'll launch on May 6th, 2025 on PC, Xbox, and PS5. It's basically, they say, I know it's the least favorite of the 2 Doom games, but they think that sci-fi setting benefits most of the speed from the speed. But they say that Metal Eden does feel a lot like Doom Eternal speed-wise, but it's a sci-fi game, and I don't really like the merging of it. Doom is this weird composite kind of a game, but this actually is seemingly hardcore sci-fi. I'm going to mute it because I don't want to get tagged for violating some whatever. What's funny is I can play all of this stuff. I just can't leave it as a VOD. So I can stream this live, talk about it all I want to, but just not record it. The audio component of it, or have a virtual track that goes away in the recording. It doesn't exist in the VOD, so there's a VOD track. At any rate, it looks like Doom, but it looks like every other shooter that I've ever experienced, where there's different levels. It doesn't seem like there's a real purpose to each of the levels, but sometimes shooters are just there for you to have fun and not sit there and try and struggle with a deep and meaningful storyline. You just do the extraction and get out and that kind of thing. Anyway, seems like a fun game for those who might be interested in it, which is why I chose to include it in this article. So, in this show, I love these kind of games. I mostly now just watch people play them. But maybe this summer I'll be playing this too. Metal Eden. Looks like it might be fun. Let's keep on going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. That's a show that was on Saturday. I couldn't do it, so I got in the time machine on Sunday, went back in time and did Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report. So all three of those are still in the live category over on YouTube and in VODs here on Twitch as well. If you want to go back and check those out, go for it. But we have close to 2,100 episodes, maybe more than that nowadays. It's been a couple of months since I've paid attention to the number of episodes that we've done, but a total of somewhere around 2,100 episodes of all of them together. Non Sequitur News, Reality Hacker, Wanted, the Continuity Report, WarCrafters, Technology Today, and later today is going to be FourWheelTech. So they all have their niche, and all of them are available over on YouTube, and you can download the 4 seasons of podcasts, or 2 seasons for the weekly shows. All right, Fast Hands. It's over in Reality Hacker. Fast Hands brings parkour action to Quest in May, aiming to level up hand-tracked locomotion. Indie studio X82 announced that it's releasing a parkour game next month that's throwing in a veritable buffet of unique locomotion styles, hoping to put Quest's hand tracking on par with controller-based movement, which I don't think that's really possible. Controllers have direct connections, whereas hand detection, hand tracking has to extrapolate what your hands are doing, and there's even milliseconds of gesture time recognition slows down the whole interaction, and it kind of makes things suck. But they say called Fast Hands, the multiplayer game offers up endless procedurally generated levels that let you run, jump, climb, glide, tasking you to progress through obstacles filled with moving traps, speed boosts, and its fair share of impossible jumps. So let's see what this thing looks like on the other side. Scott Hayden over at roadtovr.com put the article together. I don't know if there's a video. Oh, there is. So for whatever reason, whenever we get into VR, it turns into this cartoonish, not realistic type of interface. In fact, Marathon, the game that was just announced yesterday or Friday, it's high speed, it's hyperkinetic, it looks like every other extraction shooter, and it slips into this stylistic kind of thing, and I don't get it. I understand the purpose of it. They want to make their own identity, but I don't buy into it. At any rate, so while you can play seated and with controllers, the game uses hand tracking to go a lot further than most, getting out of your chair to pump up your arms for forward movement, glide through the air like Superman, skitter up walls using your stick spider hands to blast verticals at a surprisingly fast pace. Says check out the trailer. So let's play this. It's muted, but yeah, they want to track your gestures. I don't know. I don't want to look like a goober just sitting there going like this. Palms down, do this, do that, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of fun to sit there and control how you fly, particularly if it has that same if you can do more than just sit there and go like that to make yourself glide. All of it looks like it might be neat, but this whole, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Matrix-esque style, or I should say 80s style Matrix interface just kind of leaves me wanting more. Doesn't make any sense to me. It definitely isn't something that I can really attach to, but I love the idea of VR games. I use the Pico 4. I'm waiting for what may be the replacement of the Index. I don't know what it's going to be called. There's always rumors that it's being called Deckard, but that might be somebody else's property. I don't know. Anyway, seems pretty like a neat video, or I should say a neat game, but I don't know if I'd really buy into it. So although fundamentally a parkour game, there's also some shooting involved too, serving up targets and other players that you can hit with your trusty slingshot and pull one hand back to charge and then aim with the other hand, with or without controllers. It says it's an interesting array of hand track stuff for sure, and that they can't wait to see it in action when it arrives in Quest 2 and above. You'll find it over on the Horizon store when it launches in May, on May 8th. But I hope that it actually goes over to Steam, PCVR, and isn't relegated to just Quest. In the meantime, they say X82 is hosting closed multiplayer beta testing on the Fast Hands Discord, and they have an invite link over at Road to VR. It's not going to be found on ohmtown.com. All right, let's keep going, though. The next article is over in WarCrafters, Why Minecraft Doesn't Need an End Update. This is somebody's observation. Jack Peachy over at GameRant.com put the article together. It says an end update is something fans have been envisioning for almost a decade, but the idea really ramped up when the Nether got an overhaul in 2020. The Nether update completely revamped the dimension, adding diverse flora and fauna in addition to a smorgasbord of new resources. The Nether will also be getting more flowers in the update that includes Minecraft's Happy Ghast mob, which I think is silly, which is set to fully release this summer. But they're saying that it could be more trouble than it's worth, but the end is literally devoid of anything interesting. It has one purpose, and I've never really liked the storyline of Minecraft in and of itself, other than the fact that I can install a ton of mods and make it immensely more interesting and irritating. But I don't really care about the dragon at the end of it, and the end and all of that kind of stuff just is kind of boring to me. I don't like the idea of having to go to the end just to get wings to fly and whatever else. I love the world building that people have added to it via mods. So it says the end is Minecraft's loneliness manifested. Playing single player Minecraft, especially in the game's earliest days, can be a lonely experience. The world is so vast, and I love playing it with multiple people. Even if I'm the only one on the server, the option for somebody to join me at any time really is something that stands out for me. I love the idea of being able to invite the community to come and hang out in a Minecraft world. In fact, I'm considering having a permanent ohmTown Minecraft world and other worlds as we approach the Summer of Stream, which is an annual event that takes place every year now for the last 3 years. This is going to be the 4th year. So they say the world is so vast and its creatures are so obtuse that a sense of creeping isolation can set in, something that can make players feel as if they're not alone, but still isolated, I guess. I don't know. That feeling is where Minecraft's Herobrine came from. No, it's just somebody decided to come up with some meme level observation about whatever. And it's also responsible for other similar urban legends. Even in today's more crowded Minecraft, a feeling of loneliness shines through at times. Like during a solo adventure, when C418's music is hitting just right, giving players a sense of utter immersion within an impossibly large virtual world. So they say Minecraft's end poem highlights the dimension's true purpose. This loneliness serves as a narrative end in addition to its thematic purposes. The end has always been a bit strange, considering that Minecraft is a sandbox game with no definitive endpoint, but there is a progression to end. Literally in the end, it describes the transition of leaving the end, saying the player woke up from a dream and the player began a new dream. And the player dreamed again, dreamed better. Both dimensions are referred to as dreams, as is the player's experience in the real world, referred to as the long dream of life. This is all, I think, retconning stuff. It's the world building making it relevant when I don't think that any of it actually truly was in the beginning of it. It was just a step to get to one thing to another. So the poem congratulates the player on their task of besting the end. Quote, I like this player. But it also frees them of any obligation they might have to find structure in a sandbox game. The end stands out as a nightmare from which players should want to escape, and it helps them appreciate the beauty and creativity in the end's sister dimensions. But again, there isn't anything there. It has one purpose, and it's just kind of meh. Why leave it stagnant? Why not evolve it? Does it have a purpose? Yes. Well, then leave an old school version of it for people to, go back and feel nostalgia for this old stuff. But I don't like being stagnant. I like moving forward. It's one of the dynamics of ohmTown. There's always something new coming. So I prefer the new dynamic. So download Minecraft and then install a shit ton of mods and have a good time. And don't worry about that particular storyline. Just have a good time with your friends and do some world building and crafting and modding and whatnot. That's what I prefer. In fact, I keep thinking about that being the forever game that I've been hunting for a forever game for years. And Minecraft keeps filtering up to the top, but then there's no story there. There's no plot. There's nothing. So I just don't know. Maybe the right mod will show up with a whole bunch of quests and makes it fun and is open to a whole bunch of people playing at the same time, but isn't really this soul-crushing, Souls-like die and go get your corpse and then die and go get your corpse. Ugh, it's frustrating. I don't like that. Anyway, Minecraft is a fun game, and I'm looking forward to things like... No Man's Sky was a similar thing where you can build and there's story, but it's like little bottles of story. And I don't know, I'm not really into that either. And so I'm hoping that Light No Fire is going to be my forever game. But I've said that before, only for it to flame out. Not Light No Fire, other games. All right, let's keep on going though. This is a fun article. Go over and check out what Jack PG has to say. There's more over there over at GameRant.com. But it's up for you to go and check it all out. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in WarCrafters as well. Gamers can grab $450 worth of Steam games for just $30. I don't know if this is still going. Fanatical's latest Build Your Own Adventure Bundle allows PC gamers to grab over $450 worth of Steam games for under $30. The PC game retailer's newly launched promotion will be available until late April 2025. I have not gone to this yet. Dominic Bosnick put the article together, and it says here, formerly known as Bundle Stars, Fanatical is an authorized reseller of digital PC games that mostly deals in Steam keys. The retailer has been offering frequent bundles, freebies, and other sorts of deals since launching in 2012. So I'm going to go over and check this out. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Oh, I can't. I keep forgetting that I am air gapped, so I can't just hop on over there like everybody else can. All right. So yeah, you can basically, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Cryofall, what is that game? Arborea, Terracotta, Splash, Lumentum, Broken Sword 4, The Angel of Death, Dr. Livingstone, I presume, and Reversed Escape Room. Atone, Heart of the Elder Tree, Epic Journeys Double Pack, Deponia and Friends Triple Pack, there's 3 different Deponia ones, which is all the rage, really. Welcome to Elk, Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, and 6 more, maybe more. I don't know. It says 7 games. Wait, there's got to be something else going on here, because I talked about a bunch of stuff. So, all right. Well, anyway, go and check it all out. It's called Build Your Own Adventure. Starts from $3, 3 for $4.99, and add games to start saving. And the more you add, the more you save. I don't think they have an option to add everything though. Then there's something else beyond the steel sky. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is an interesting website. You'll have to go and check it all out. Fanatical.com. So I went over there to check it out, and I kind of talked you all through it. So these are the games that they have listed here over at GameRant.com. These are all of them. And it's $458.75. Who knows what the real price is, after tariffs and taxes. No, this is the retail pricing, $458.75. Ongoing promotion is compatible with 18 items in total. However, several of them are 2 and 3 packs. So this bundle actually adds up 25 PC adventure games. Based on regular retail pricing, it's $460. So pretty cool. The Spring 2025 edition of Fanatical's Build Your Own Adventure Bundle promotion will run until April 20th, so you have a week from today. The retailer is likely to launch even more themed deals before this particular promo comes to an end, so go over to fanatical.com and check it all out. And our last article for today's WarCrafters, is over in the WarCrafters channel at ohmtown.com. Blueprints is a mystery-packed mansion that will crank open your mind. This thing is Myst on steroids, as I called it. The house at Mount Holly has 45 rooms, but the placement of each of those rooms is up to you, and it resets every day. You've been left the house and its estate in an inheritance, but only if you can find the mysterious 46th room. In this way, Blueprints blends its puzzles in both deck building and roguelite elements. When you open the entrance hall door at the start of every morning, you'll be given a choice of 3 rooms that might lie beyond. Each of them has a fixed number and orientation of doors, limiting your options to progress through the mansion itself. And so what you see are blueprints, Prints, but the game is called Blueprints, Prince. No 2 rooms at Mount Holly are the same, nor do they even stay in the same place from day to day. You have a certain number of steps. Every time you transition from one room to another, you lose a step at least. Sometimes you can find food or some other perk that gives you some more steps, but not always. So you might, for instance, draw the bedroom and get rewarded with 10 additional steps to use throughout the day, or you might draw the weight room and lose half of your carefully scrounged footsteps. The game's step counter is limited on your movement, and you can't walk forever through the house, and if you run out of steps, you have to come back the next day and start from scratch. Or you might draw the parlor and have to solve a truth and lie logic puzzle to get gems, which you can spend on drafting more useful rooms later. It's a lot of fun. But it's kind of a roguelite with cards, and to me, it's a chill adventure Myst that is meta in that steps in one place can affect something else. The graphics aren't the Myst level, but some of the puzzles can be complex, but the plurality of puzzles and the fact that I think this has unlimited replayability, because every time you go in, there's something random. And so whatever 45 would be, I'd have to calculate the odds, but it's some derivative of the 45 different cards that can be placed within the grid. And that's what it looks like. Pardon me. It's not showing the picture of the way that the mansion looks, but it's basically a series of squares, and you plop rooms in place as you progress through rooms. You can't go way far up. You can't really predict what you're going to get. But if you play your cards right, you can actually find the 46th room, which is at the top of the map, but you start at the bottom and you have to work your way up. I'm not sure if you have to hit every single room to get to the 46th room, or if you can speed run your way through straight to it, because it's shown on the map, but you just can't necessarily get to it. So it's really interesting, and I really dig this game. I tried it out when it was an early demo. I've tried it out from time to time, but then it just dropped. So go and check it out. It's over on Steam, and it's available right now. With that in mind, we're going to roll some cards, and that's going to bring us back to the WarCrafters front page over at ohmtown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. Please go and check it out. Sign up, sign in, come and hang out with us every day, 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, we're typically doing this at 4 p.m., but my mayoral duties kept me from doing the show yesterday, so I've already done 3 time machines, and this is the first, and we're running about an hour late. The Sentient AI isn't available at the moment, but I'm hoping that they will become available for Technology Today and or FourWheelTech, but we'll see. That said, thank you for coming and hanging out for WarCrafters, which is all about gaming, and hope to see you next week at least. Hopefully tomorrow, 7 p.m. I don't know. Hope to see you in ohmTown. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for April 13th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 15. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. That's that site over there. And over there is the Sentient AI's visualizer, but they're not available for today's show. At least not yet. Not sure if they're going to be done with their business before they can come onto the set. But anyway, welcome to the show. ohmTown is a news aggregation site, so there are thousands of articles that get aggregated. Just a little snippet each day. We'll walk you through how this works, or I'll walk you through how this works. But if you go over and you sign up or sign in, you can be part of this. You can actually submit news to us, and we'll evaluate it and include it in the show. Perhaps it really depends on form and fitment. And we do this weekly. Technology Today is a weekly show, but you can actually go over to ohmtown.com anytime. You can actually get articles from Ohmatron over on Twitch chat, and our articles are embedded in the show notes for our 3 shows on Saturday and 3 shows on Sunday, and the Monday through Friday show of Non Sequitur News. So there's always something that's being talked about here in ohmTown. If you want today's articles, you can hit !TT in the chat over on Twitch, and Ohmatron will spit them out in the article in the order that we're going to be talking about these articles. That said, we're going to be talking about organic chains on Mars, a universal weak spot, liquid air energy storage, greener ways to produce iron, and a fluid battery. Not sure if that's the same thing as the third article, but this is how it gets submitted, and then I parse the little snippet, the headline typically, and I find it fascinating, sometimes enough where I just include it. At any rate, everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over and become a citizen, and then come back and hang out with us every day. Sign up so that you're informed when we go live, and then you can come and hang out, and we can talk shop about this and many other things, and be prepared for the summer of stream, where I'm going to be converting into, instead of doing it an hour a day, I'm going to be dedicating upwards of 8 hours a day, just talking about the news that filters through ohmtown.com, and hopefully working with other streamers to kind of get together and talk about what's going on in the world of science, technology, and society. So thanks for sticking around, and here's our intro which might change this year. Yeah, I like the form of our intro because it's very dynamic and it's changing all the time, and I don't like things static. Even ohmTown has changed context over the years. I've actually been using this news aggregation service only for myself for over a decade, and slowly building up this idea of making it a community. And then in 2022, I opened it up for everybody else in January 1st, 2022. So now it's available to everybody. So go over and check it all out. I don't track anything. I don't have ads on the site. I use it for my information overload. And now I'm opening it up for everybody else to go and use. So go check it out. It's pretty simple. At any rate, here's what we're going to be talking about. So that is ohmtown.com right there. But then if you go into Technology Today, so Technology Today is over in Gadgets and Technology. See how there's 6 main categories? There's 50 channels. Each one of these is a show that I want to bring to ohmtown.com, streaming here on Twitch and YouTube, as well as shorts over on YouTube and TikTok. We have a Discord for each of the shows, and Patreon. And for 7 of the shows, we have podcasts. So if you're interested in just something, a very specific segment, then download just that podcast. Anyway, podcasts are growing. That said, this is what Technology Today looks like. I'm going to be building out new logos, so go and check that out. If you're interested in all of the news that's typically a deeper dive into technology and science, then that's where you want to be over at ohmTown. That said, the first article is about scientists that found a 3.7 billion year old organic chain on Mars that may point to life. They say here in this article, a stunning discovery on Mars has revealed the longest organic molecules ever found on the planet, carbon chains that could resemble building blocks of life as we know it, preserved for billions of years in ancient Martian clay. These molecules were uncovered by NASA's Curiosity rover and could point to a more chemically complex past. I'm hoping that this actually does identify that there is life on other planets so that we can do away with this idea that, oh, there's no life except on Earth, which I think is absurd. But I'm sure that the people that are poo-pooing the idea that poo-pooing the idea that there is life elsewhere will sit there and go, well, it was meant to be bullshit. Anyway, CNRS over at scitechdaily.com put the article together. Preserved for billions of years in ancient. I'm merging all of it together. Ancient is ancient Martian clay. The molecules were uncovered by NASA's Curiosity rover. They say that the scientists from CNRS, along with collaborators in France, United States, Mexico, Spain, have detected the longest organic molecules ever identified on Mars. These molecules, carbon chains with up to 12 consecutive carbon atoms, resemble fatty acids, which on Earth are often associated with biological processes. Pretty cool. Longest long-chain hydrocarbons discovered on Mars is what the little graphic says. So how did they make this discovery? Well, they drilled a hole. Much smaller than you think it is. The diameter of the hole is about 0.6 inches. The depth is about 2.6 inches. And somewhere in that, they discovered these long-chain carbon or hydrocarbons. It was made using the SAM or sample analysis at Mars instrument that was co-funded by the French space agency CNES. SAM is part of NASA's Curiosity rover, which has been exploring Gale Crater since 2012. It's supposed to die a long time ago. But they published these findings on March 24th, 2025 in the journal PNAS, which I think is just horribly acronymed. But that's because I am a child. All right, let's keep on moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. A universal weak spot. Scientists solve decades-old cancer mystery. Cancer drugs that inhibit CDK7 rapidly shut down pathways responsible for cell proliferation within minutes. For organs to develop, grow, and regenerate, cells must divide and multiply, a process known as proliferation. However, when the process becomes dysregulated, it can lead to uncontrolled cell growth and the development of cancer. That coupled with the lack of apoptosis, so that it doesn't die, means that it just keeps on proliferating unabated, short of starving it. And that doesn't happen because it literally takes resources from everywhere else. University of Colorado at Boulder put this article together, and I am not a cancer researcher. But I have done research into this because everybody is touched by this in some way. Everybody. You may not even know it, but you are probably, if you're hearing my voice, you are probably in your family line, in your social system, social structure, you are directly impacted by cancer. And I would find it hard to believe that there is anybody on the planet that is devoid of being impacted. And the only way that you could be is if you're a sociopath, because you don't believe that, well, you're not impacted by somebody else's concerns. Well, anyway, the new researcher from CU Boulder, published in Science Advances, provides groundbreaking insight into the role of a mysterious enzyme called CDK7 in regulating this process, this proliferation process. The study reveals that experimental cancer drugs targeting CDK7 can rapidly, within minutes, disrupt gene expression pathways that fuel cell proliferation across a wide range of tissues. The problem here is it needs to be focused, so they need to find the cancer. They need to find a way that this dysregulation can actually take place and stop proliferation. So this work addresses a longstanding mystery surrounding an enzyme critical for regulating the cell cycle and cell proliferation. Not only does it help us understand, and by this, us, meaning the professors at the Department of Biochemistry, and Dylan Tajas is the professor here that's making this comment. Not only does it help us understand a fundamental biological process important to development, it also has broad therapeutic applications. So this enigma that they're talking about is that it's a role as a master regulator of cell proliferation. CDK does this in two ways. It switches on other enzymes known as kinases, including CDK1, 2, 4, and 6, which kickstart cells to divide and multiply. It also regulates gene expression in ways that until now have remained unclear. And the new study found that it controls the function of proteins called transcription factors, which influence when and how genes are expressed. So in recent years, several companies have developed CDK7 inhibitors that in clinical trials have worked to slow tumor growth, but it's not entirely how clear they do this, and the drugs have serious side effects, and in clinical trials, they've fallen short of killing tumors entirely. And that's because it's acting a lot like a shotgun instead of a scalpel, and needs to be more focused on the cancer cells, and they need to know more about it. So this requires fundamental research, and that takes place when there's large amounts of money that are spent. And it's usually a social exercise where large amounts of money are granted to fundamental research institutions. I don't know what the U.S. is going to be doing, but they say the researchers applied a CDK7 inhibitor provided by Syros Pharmaceuticals and already used in clinical trials to cancerous human tissue cells, and then they used sophisticated computational techniques to watch, essentially in real time, what happened next. They found within 30 minutes a core set of transcription factors that turn on genes that prompt cells to proliferate was uniformly shut down. In other experiments, the same set of transcription factors was found to be consistently on in all proliferating cell lines tested. So this included 79 cell lines, mostly from human cancers, representing 27 different tissue types. But the real problem here is, while they may shut down this proliferation, is it entirely focused on inhibiting proliferation of cancer cells? If not, then it's shutting down regrowth of needed biological functions, tissue regrowing, cells replacing cells that die from apoptosis. So a cell dies, it has a cell regulator, and a clock basically says, okay, your time is done. This does not take place with cancers. So meanwhile, CDK's other role to kickstart enzymes that nudge cells to divide and multiply is also blocked by the inhibitor that they tested, but this occurs more slowly and is not dependent on the core set of transcription factors. So taken together, these findings suggest that it may be possible to develop new therapies that disable some of the enzyme's disease-causing functions rapidly while leaving its beneficial roles intact. So they say instead of essentially using a sledgehammer to shut down all CDK7 activities, it could be that you could shut down just a branch of its activities. But they're going to have to modify CDK7 and find out where it can actually bind to, and stop this proliferation of cancer cells. But I still think that it's, and they mentioned this thing, more important for tumor proliferation while minimally disrupting normal cell functions. So yeah, this right now is sort of still on the side of like a chemo, where it kills everything good and bad, and your immune system has to keep on fighting, and then your body's biological processes have to rebuild just in time for, another infusion of chemo, and that poisons you, but it's saving your ass, so it's beneficial at the same time. So I find this really compelling, and I hope that this actually continues to be researched. All right, this next article is over in Technology Today as well, using liquid air for grid-scale energy storage. As the world moves to reduce carbon emissions, solar and wind power will play an increasing role in electricity grids, although apparently there is some deregulation that's taking place here in the United States. We'll see what the extent of that is. But those renewable sources only generate electricity when it's sunny or windy. So to ensure a reliable power grid, one that can deliver electricity 24/7, it's crucial to have a means of storing electricity when supplies are abundant and delivering it later. The problem with today's grid is that it isn't stored in large batteries. It's largely sent to ground. When it's not consumed, it's sent to ground. And so there's this balancing act of generation and consumption. It's not stored anywhere. Now there's large battery systems that are being put in place, but those expire and they're expensive, and they take a lot of babysitting. So it's crucial to have a means of storing electricity when supplies are abundant and delivering it later when they're not. And sometimes large amounts of electricity will need to be stored not just for hours, but for days or even longer. So in comes liquid air for grid-scale energy storage. Nancy W. Stauffer over at Massachusetts Institute of Technology put the article together. It's over at techexplore.com. But they say some methods of achieving long-duration energy storage are promising. For example, with pumped hydro energy storage, water is pumped from a lake to another higher lake when there's extra electricity and released back down through the power generating turbines when the electricity is needed. But that approach is limited by geography, and most potential sites in the United States have already been used. Lithium-ion batteries could provide grid-scale storage, but only for about 4 hours. Larger than that, and the battery systems get prohibitively expensive and very, very large. So liquid energy storage, or LAES systems that have been built, so the technology is technically feasible. Liquid air, or air that is drawn in from the surroundings, cleaned and dried, and then cooled to the point that it liquefies and under pressure. You know what? I don't know if this last article is the same thing as the one that's up above. Anyway, the researchers have developed a model that takes detailed information on LAS systems and calculates when and where those systems would be economically viable, assuming future scenarios in line with selected decarbonization targets, as well as other conditions that may prevail in future energy grids. So basically, they want to cool this thing down and put it in various places where it's economically feasible. But there haven't been any conclusive studies on its economic viability. Would the income over time warrant the initial investment and ongoing costs? Well, they found that under some scenarios they've modeled, LAS could be economically viable in certain locations. Sensitivity analyses showed that policies providing a subsidy on capital expenses would make LAES systems economically viable in many locations. But this really depends on who and what and where, particularly administration, because it's going to take socially driven capital investment, federal level investment. And if protectionists are in place, you're not going to get anything that might be forward thinking, because they want to profit from the here and now, and even from the suffering that might be existing in a time where we could generate abundant electricity. Let's just take Enron back in the day. They literally, these psychopaths and sociopaths that were making money hand over fist, would joke about turning off power to grandma so that the rates would increase because of supply and demand mechanics. But when you're the one that's selling the weapons to both sides, yeah, you're an unethical piece of crap. But anyway, I jump on a soapbox from time to time, and I hope that you appreciate being a little bit more pragmatic and thinking about society as a whole, not just your particular silo. The next article, though, we're going to keep on moving. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Scientists advance a greener way to produce iron. Process could help carbon emissions in the steel industry. University of Oregon chemists have brought a greener way to make iron metal for steel production closer to reality, a step toward cleaning up an industry that's one of the biggest contributors to carbon emissions worldwide. And it was published in ACS Energy Letters. If you can think of a topic, there is a journal that talks about it. Laura Hammers over at University of Oregon put this article together. It's published at techexplore.com. Well, this article is, but the research was published at ACS Energy Letters. Last year, UO chemist Paul Kempler and his team reported a way to create iron with electrochemistry using a series of chemical reactions that turn salt water and iron oxide into pure iron metal, which I'm not sure how that works, because salt water oxidizes iron. So in their latest work, they've optimized the starting materials for the process, identifying which kinds of iron oxides will make the chemical reactions the most cost effective. That's a key to making the process work at an industrial scale. Used in everything from buildings to cars to infrastructure, almost 2 billion metric tons of steel were produced worldwide in 2024 alone. Currently, the most fossil fuel intensive part of the process is turning iron ore, the oxidized form of iron that's found in nature, into pure iron metal. It's done in blast furnaces. You scrape the stuff off the top and you get pure iron at the bottom. Then you pour it into molds. It usually kind of crusts over, but then you break that off when you're milling it and processing it, and coat it in oil so that it doesn't oxidize, and ship it all around. So those reactions conveniently also produce chlorine, a commercially valuable byproduct. And how they want to do that? The process starts with salt water and iron oxide, which are cheap and available, and transform them into iron metal through a series of chemical reactions. And those reactions, like I said earlier, produce chlorine and a commercially valuable byproduct. When Kempler and his team began developing this process a few years ago, they developed small quantities of iron oxides from chemical supply companies. Those materials worked well in lab tests, but they didn't reflect the kind of iron-rich materials found naturally. So the team experimented with different kinds of iron oxides, and it was clear that some worked much better than others, but the researchers weren't sure what was driving the difference. So was it the composition, size, etc.? So in lab tests, the difference was striking. When the really porous particles, we can make iron really quickly in a small area. The dense particles just can't achieve the same rate. So we're limited in how much iron we can make per square meter of electrodes. They basically put some of the nanoparticles through a heat treatment that made them much denser and less porous. It solidifies into the same secondary nanoparticle shape, but there are more primary particles observed inside. It's essentially the same material, it's just different stages. So the faster rate of reaction of the porous particles means that the initial capital cost can be recouped faster, translating into a lower final cost for the iron product, ideally low enough to be competitive with commercial conventional methods. So they basically want to do this electrochemical process and see if they can scale it up. And the goal is to find something that's abundant, cheap, and that's going to keep smaller environmental impact than the alternative. They say they won't be satisfied if they have to invent something that's more damaging than the main way to make iron today. So they're going to be working in various other research fields to see if they can grow this thing. But at least in the lab, they've been able to develop pure iron from iron oxides and salt water. All right, let's keep going. This last article for today looks like it is related to this fluid battery, or I should say a battery, liquid air grid scale energy storage, but it isn't the same thing apparently. A fluid battery that can take any shape. The article is over in TechnologyToday at ohmtown.com, but it's sourced from, well, we'll get to it. Using electrodes in a fluid form, researchers at Linköping University, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Linköping, have developed a battery that can take any shape. The soft and conformable, not comfortable, it might be comfortable, but anyway, the soft and conformable battery can be integrated into future technology in a completely new way. Their battery has been published in the journal Science Advances. The article is over at Tech Explorer. Linköping University put the article together, and there is your flexible, very hyper flexible battery. Looks kind of squirrely to me. This is the kind of thing that it looks like it could be injected into any shape, and it'll conform to whatever it is that it's being injected into. And we do this in packaging. Right now, you can basically put a bag inside a box, and it can have stuff in it inside the box, and they just spray foam into this bag, and it just fills up the entirety of the box. And if you do it right, it doesn't swell and burst and all that. It just settles down. But it's pretty neat. It looks like it can be squeezed into any shape. The texture is a bit like toothpaste. The material can, for instance, be used in a 3D printer to shape the battery as you please. This opens up for a new type of technology. It's estimated that more than 1 trillion gadgets will be connected to the internet in 10 years' time. In addition to traditional technology such as mobile phones, smartwatches, and computers, this could involve wearable medical devices and insulin pumps, pacemakers, hearing aids, etc. But it's really all about extending the footprint of the battery so that you don't have this hard pack battery. And if it's flexible, it can take better shock, whereas a solid battery can be punctured easier. This might be able to flex inside a protective layer. I don't know the full extent of this, but they say fluid electrodes have been tested in the past, but without any great success. At the time, liquid metals such as gallium were used, but then the material can only be functioning as an anode and has the risk of being solidified during charging and discharging, basically losing its fluid nature and in part losing its efficiency, its effectiveness. So the researchers at LIU campus Norrköping have instead based their soft battery on conductive plastics, conjugated polymers, and lignin, a byproduct from paper production trees. It's the stuff that holds the fibers together. The battery can be recharged and discharged over 500 times and still maintain its performance, and it can also be stretched to double the length and still work just as well. So this is pretty brilliant. So they say it isn't perfect, but it's shown that the concept works, but the performance needs to be improved. The voltage is currently 0.9 volts, but that depends on how big it is, I would suspect. So now they're looking at other chemical compounds to increase the voltage. One option that they're exploring is the use of zinc or manganese. All right, we'll get it done. I want to see this thing replacing lithium ion. Hopefully it's not as explosive, but they don't really talk about that in the article. at any rate, we are going to recharge our batteries, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of Technology Today over at ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. Please sign up, sign in, come back and hang out with us on YouTube chat and on Twitch chat. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, download the podcast. There's one for each of the weekly shows. This is Technology Today, and one for Non Sequitur News, which is the daily show that takes place every day. On Saturday and Sunday, though, Non Sequitur News is the compilation of that day's 3 shows. So on Saturday, it's my brain just went blank. Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report. And today's 3 shows are WarCrafters, Technology Today, and FourWheelTech. So they all get combined into the Saturday and Sunday editions of Non Sequitur News. And then Monday through Friday, we have the 1-hour show. So go and check it all out. I hope you enjoy the show. It's all about introducing people to science, technology, and society, and giving some context to it and showing how everything is connected and you can't escape it. We are all intimately tied together through science, technology, and society. And we've been doing this now for 3 years, and this is the 4th month. So go over and check out ohmtown.com and be sure to come and hang out with us on Twitch and YouTube, or both at the same time. That would be great. Be sure to like and subscribe. That's even more important than everything else, other than you giving us your time, which is immensely appreciated. So be sure to tell a friend and then come back. I'm going to reset real quick, and then we're going to do the final show for today. We're going to end the stream, and then it's going to come back online, and we're going to be talking about automotive technology in FourWheelTech. So see you soon. Bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for April 13th, 2025. It is Season 2, Episode 15. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the Sentient AI, we normally talk about 5 articles. Today, though, the Sentient AI isn't available. So here are the 5 that we're going to be talking about. Brand new 2023 cars. Yes, that's not a typo, 2023 cars. Maybe it is a typo. I don't know. They're referring to it as 2023 cars. 2025 Mini Countryman, 2025 Bronco Sport and its variants. How hot is too hot for transmissions, and the Mazda Sky Active. It's more than just marketing, apparently. At any rate, I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmtown.com. It's a news aggregation site that I use and have been using for a decade now. But I opened it up to the public, so go over and check it all out. There's 6 main categories, and that's what makes up the umbrella of our logo right there. And then the little white one there is all of the colors of the categories composited into one. So all the colors merged to one. It's white. Anyway. There's 50 channels, each one that has it's a little niche topic within these main categories, one of which is automotive, FourWheelTech. But we've got a bunch of other articles, or a bunch of other channels, and 7 of them exist as podcasts as well. So there's 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then a weekly one, or a daily one, called Non Sequitur News, which basically is a composite of everything that flows through ohmtown. So go over and check out ohmtown.com. That's where everything is aggregated, and all news, no noise, because all the noise just comes from me here during the streams. The streams are on Twitch and YouTube, so if you like one platform or the other, we're on both. Don't forget, you can download the podcast later. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get all. I did 6 episodes today, so this is the 6th, and once they're saved and then re-uploaded over to YouTube, I actually make a composite of Non Sequitur News shows from the 6 shows. It's inside baseball. Anyway, come and hang out, and I'll see you here on the other side of our intro. So, FourWheelTech is all about automotive technology. It's kind of in the name, but we actually talk about all kinds of stuff, not just automotive, wherein it has four wheels. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up changing the name at some point, but right now, FourWheelTech sounds like a great name. So, if you want to host or co-host and you're really passionate about vehicles, automotive technology, then get in touch. Send an email to mayor@ohmtown.com, and we'll hash out the minutia of it. Because I'm always looking for a host or a co-host to bring the rest of the 50 channels. I can't do all 50, and they are weekly shows except for Non Sequitur News. So you only have to do it once a week and be passionate about it and talk your heart out for upwards of an hour. Doesn't need to be longer, but it's really up to you. That said, let's get into today's articles. They are largely found in the FourWheelTech category, and it's one of these up here. So go over to ohmtown.com and check it all out. That said, the first article is you can still buy a brand new 2023 Zero DRS-X, and you'll save $10,000 off MSRP. It's a 2023 though. So the Zero DSR-X is quite possibly the perfect commuter motorcycle, except for one fatal flaw: its cost. So Amber Da Silva over at jalopnik.com put the article together. Most of these articles are actually from Jalopnik. They're kind of a juggernaut in the automotive news sector. But the Zero DSR-X is quite possibly the perfect commuter motorcycle, except for the fact that it's, well, expensive. And so all that adventure styling comes with ADV pricing and an MSRP of $23,000 just pushed the bike out of reach of most commuting buyers. At least it sure seemed that way, judging by the number of still unsold 2023 models sitting on dealer floors with delivery mileage. So the bikes now abound for $8,000 to $10,000 off their original MSRP, which puts them toe-to-toe with gas-powered commuters, bikes that can't compete on efficiency, torque, or storage. A DSR-X is a tough sell at over 20 grand, but at 13, it's, within range, I suspect. So these bikes are now worth what dealers are asking. So they said that they were scrolling through their Facebook marketplace when they found a DSR-X listing for $15,000. Seemed pretty good price. Made great when the bike turned out to be brand new. Not bad. So one for $14,000 in Massachusetts, another up by Buffalo, et cetera, et cetera. They're all over the place. One in Pennsylvania for $12,500. All brand new, just delivery miles. So if you're interested in that, then you can go and hunt these things down. They are zero emission bikes. So immediate on, you don't have to worry about spooling up anything. Go and check it out. It says dealers from Maryland and Texas and Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So go and check it out. Looks pretty. I like that bike. I'm actually considering getting... I used to ride motorcycles when I was younger, stopped for a long time, but I kind of like the idea of a zero emission bike. That's probably the one that I would get an EV motorcycle before I get an EV car. I would prefer it being a hybrid too, a hydrogen electric. But anyway, pretty cool. Go and check this out. 2023 Zero DRS-X for $10,000 up to, and I'm sure nowadays it might be even more, depending on if you can haggle your way to getting more money off. They want to get these older ones out because people are like, well, why would I buy a brand new one? And that doesn't look good for a company. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. Oh, by the way, if you want all of today's articles, you can hit exclamation point and then FWT. First one is free. I'll throw it into the chat over at Twitch. And Omatron will spit out the articles in the order that we're talking about them. There is no such feature over on YouTube at the moment, but all of the articles are already embedded in the description for all three of today's shows. In fact, all 6 of our shows have the articles embedded in their show notes, so go and check it out. Anyway, the 2025 Mini Countryman SE, it says whimsy doesn't make up for annoying. For its third incarnation, the Mini Countryman now comes in an all-electric variant. The Countryman is Mini's take on the family car, a compact crossover with bold design both inside and out. At time, okay, at probably a time when far too many automakers are supersizing their vehicles, Mini's offerings are still right-sized, although they're chonky compared to their predecessors. Even if the Countryman is a bit bigger than the model it replaces, but at times you might feel left feeling that style took preference over substance. Having actually had a Countryman in my past, I dig the car, but man, their turbo always blew out. Maybe it's the way that I drove it, but I got burnt out on that. So Jonathan M. Gitlin put the article together. It has style, but it's also slow to charge, and the infotainment is laggy. Well, that sucks, and that may not be easy to fix at all. Could be a software issue, but whatever. All I want is a USB-C connector that I can just stick my phone or my tablet in and be done with it. All of the telemetry going in through an app. Get me away from all of the electronic crap in there. And if I take it, then, no, there isn't anything there. Nobody can steal my car because there's no device there that allows me to start the car up. Jonathan M. Gitlin, again, put the article together for arstechnica.com. And they got that nice green. But this is the electric version of it, which I'm not too keen on. 308 horsepower, 364 foot-pounds of torque, a 66.5 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. Let's see. Based on the past few hundred miles, the test car that they spent a week with averaged 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Right? 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Why does it say 18.3 miles per kilowatt hour? It averaged, which should allow for 220 miles. 300. That must be kilometers. I don't know what they're talking about here. Anyway, I don't want to make an assumption, but at any rate, so 220 miles on a single charge, at least in good weather, and you're not supposed to charge it to 100%. So you're supposed to only charge it to 80% and keep it above 10%. So you just keep on bouncing, waffling between, that 10% and 80%. So you can never hit 220 miles. This is supposedly in the best case scenario, but it's a $45,000 car before tariffs are taken into account if it comes from a country that responded negatively to the tariffs. So who knows how much this damn car is actually going to cost, but I do not want to sit there and spend hours charging my car. I would love to have a Mini Countryman electric, but anyway, Mini quotes 30-minute time to charge fast from 10 to 80% at a peak of 130 kilowatts. In practice, they weren't able to get close. Nobody has ever been able to get close. This is like lab testing, It's just the perfect conditions. Temperature makes a difference in it. The quality of the connection makes a difference in it. Somebody having a bad day, looking at it sideways plays a role in charge rate. The first DC charger that they plugged into at just 16% state of charge wouldn't deliver more than 55 kilowatts. Swapping to a different charger, the rate increased to 67, but it still took over 45 minutes to hit 80%. That's batshit crazy. Level 2 AC charge at 9.6 kilowatt would completely charge the battery in 8 hours, Mini says. 8 hours! How absurd is this that the market actually buys into this? So anyway, they go on to greater detail about the minutia of the car. I've always loved the central console. I, again, would rather just have a place to put a smart device. Put your phone, put your tablet, Android phone, iOS phone, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just have the software on it that allows you to see all of this. I don't need everybody on the planet to see this thing. It doesn't need to be this giant radar dish in the center of the car, but you can have that aesthetic on an iPad and stick it in there, or some other tablet as your interface. It doesn't need to be embedded. Anyway, you can change all kinds of stuff. It looks pretty cool. I love the idea. Green is eco mode, which changes the throttle map and turns down the climate control to eke out a few more miles of range. They say they're not sure that they detected a huge amount of difference in the driving behavior between mid, core, vivid, timeless, or balance, but it did seem like the cream colored retro dials and timeless, which call back to the original minis of the 60s, which made the car, this car, you could probably put two 60s era minis inside the cockpit of a conventional mini Countryman now. So it says, now you're annoying me. Just like about every mini that they've driven, they found the Countryman brakes a little too grabby in terms of initial bite. That also applied one pedal driving mode when the maximum amount of liftoff regeneration is selected. And I would say that happens with when I had one as well. It says, in addition to the infotainment system lag, they had to reconnect their phone to the Mini's Bluetooth network every time they got in, which I found always frustrating. My car currently doesn't do that kind of stuff. In fact, I don't even want it to automatically connect, and it doesn't. The car also failed to remember any of their radio channels that they had set previously. It's possible that it was a consequence of using a guest profile for the entertainment system, which is probably true, but it's inconsistent with the behavior that they've experienced in the past, so they're calling it a bug. So the compact electric crossover market is not quite as well served by automakers as the luxury SUV segment. Mini Countryman's biggest problem is probably the Hyundai Kona EV, which not only goes a lot farther on a single charge, but also has a starting price that's more than $12,000 cheaper, albeit with about 100 horsepower to play with less. That puts the Mini style at one heck of a premium, though. Yeah. And I think that's absurd. 100 horsepower less, meaning that the car, 200 horsepower on an electric. It's still pretty zippy in its takeoff, but its upper level isn't going to be all that great. Just give me a bigger battery, I suspect. Maybe we can overcharge it. Hack that software so it puts the juice down a little bit faster. Anyway, let's move on. I just don't think that the market is right. The technology isn't there to get people to switch, and I don't want to be bound to a freaking cable. I don't want to have to sit for 8 hours to max my battery back up to full. I mean, it's a full freaking workday. How horrid is that if there's ever an emergency and I have to go a longer distance, I can't get the hell out of there because I have to wait for my battery to charge up. Otherwise, I have to stop 4 hours into a drive. It's just so stupid. Anyway, we need fast swap battery technology, and everybody needs to get on board with it. Everybody needs to demand it from every manufacturer. In fact, I would prefer to switch over to hydrogen electric. Just slide in a hydrogen cylinder and off we go. But whatever. I guess I'm the insane one. But we'll see. In 5 years, people are going to be going, hey, Mayor Watt really knew what he was talking about. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech. 2025 Ford Bronco Sport Badlands Sasquatch can go way further off-road than anyone needs it to. If you're looking for a compact crossover with traditional SUV styling and real off-road chops, the updated Ford Bronco Sport is the car for you. See, I don't want the sport. I don't like the sport aesthetic. I do want a Ford Bronco, 2025 Ford Bronco, but I want the original styling, not the sport. It says Brad Brunell over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and it says here, do you want a nondescript egg-shaped thing with a CVT, continuous variable transmission? Or do you want a real off-road capable machine with an unapologetically rugged SUV shape? And if you answered the latter, your choices are pretty limited to the Ford Bronco Sport. You might get close to with a Jeep Compass Trailhawk, a Toyota RAV TRD off-road, but the RAV4s, no. Or even a Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness, which That's probably closer to the Bronco, but the Bronco Sport, especially in its highest off-road Badlands trim with the optional Sasquatch package, has more chops than any of these. The problem here, though, is this car is probably $70,000, I'd say. But let's see how much they actually want for it. The base Bronco makes do with a turbocharged 1.5 liter 3-cylinder putt-putt, 181 horsepower, and they drove one and it served pretty well just to get you probably to the Starbucks and back, but you hit a puddle and it kind of goes, water. The Badland uses a version of the turbocharged 2-liter inline-4, also found in the Maverick and Escape with 245 horsepower in this application. Twin clutch rear differential that made the Maverick Lobo so good is also employed in the Bronco Sport Badland Sasquatch, but with different programming for more off-road capable driving. So they drove in the sand and over rocks. And I guess it really kind of did its thing, but they say it's overpriced. So let's see what that price actually is. The Bronco Sport Badlands that they drove will cost $50,000 with $3,000 Sasquatch off-road package and a few other options. That says with the $3,000, so $50,000. So if you don't need the moonroof, the stereo, graphic package, you can get a Bronco Sport Badlands for as little as $42,405, and the cheapest off-road version starts at $32,385. I don't know. For whatever reason, I don't like the Bronco Sport aesthetic. I like the Bronco, the original, like when it was re-released, and I think the Bronco is out still, but not the Sport. I don't want the Sport. I don't know. But it's got a different aesthetic, and for whatever reason, it's the one that sells, but I don't really like the Bronco Sport. I'd end up with one anyway. I'm actually looking at a Mini again, but I guess we'll see. But look at that, man. These pop-out tie-downs? What the hell? Interesting. Yeah, every article you're going to hear, you're going to sit there and hear about Tariff World. So there are, that's what it's talking about. There are a matching pair of D-rings on the rear bumper that you can use to tie off the rear of whatever it is you're strapping down, and double as hard toe points if you bite off more than you can chew off the road. So pretty cool. That is a gorgeous color of green too. My. Skid plate, tubular bumper, tubular dude. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. How hot is too hot? What's the normal transmission temperature and why it might run high? Aggressive driving, towing, excessive loads can all put strain on your transmission. How do you know when things are getting dangerous? Well, you don't put a little sticker over that damn blinking light, that's for sure. The author of this over at Jalopnik is Jason Marker, and it says... in general, the safe heat range for a vehicle transmission is roughly the same as the safe heat range for its engine, between 175 and 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything more than that, and you're looking at damage to the transmission's internals. How hot is too hot, though, and what happens when a transmission overheats? You know, stuff around it might catch fire. I don't know. I don't think a transmission would catch fire in and of itself, but the stuff around it might. So there's all kinds of reasons why it could. I won't go into all of that because it's over at the article, but it says an overheating transmission will slip, bang, make weird noises, hesitate, smell awful. That's the one that would give it away. It gives off this toxic smell. If your vehicle exhibits any of those behaviors, pull over ASAP, check your transmission fluid, but be careful. Everything could be hot, and if you well, just be careful. I'll just say that. So if the fluid is low, discolored, smells burned, let the vehicle cool down a bit and then get it to the shop without delay. If you're lucky, you'll just need a transmission flush and some fresh fluid to fix the problem. But that's usually if it's caught in time and there isn't some underlying problem. But usually if you've gotten to this, then you're probably going to need something more like a transmission rebuild. So if you want to keep your transmission from overheating, the best bet is a transmission cooler, which is like a tiny radiator that you get on your gearbox. But most cars do not need that. So evaluate just exactly what it is you're driving and how you're driving it. Because if your transmission needs a cooler, you're doing something. Or there's a mechanical failure. There's way too much friction. There's way too much pressure. Something is causing your transmission to go wonky. So definitely, it's got the transmission is built to match the drivetrain, so you don't sit there and blow it out because it's all matched together. You're using your car for the wrong purpose. So a lot of cars come with them, especially high performance cars or towing rigs, but you can usually get one from an aftermarket and have it installed. It just kind of clamps on and keeps it cool. Other than that, make sure that you keep your vehicle maintenance up. So this is kind of like No Shit News at 6:32 Eastern on FourWheelTech. Anyway, thanks, Jason Marker. If you want more information about this, follow the link over to Jalopnik. And we're going to do this last article. This last article for FourWheelTech for the April 13th episode is why Mazda Skyactiv engine tech is more than just branding. As more than just a Mazda seal of approval, the Skyactiv engine offers technical advancements that includes an impressive and competitive combustion ratio. But what does that really mean to anybody? Ryan Eric King put this article together. That is a gorgeous red for this CX-30. Oh my God, I want a different color car. So from Ford's EcoBoost to Audi's Quattro, the world is filled with trademark terms intended to put a unique selling point on the automaker's vehicles front and center. Mazda Skyactiv is no different. Sort of. The easiest place to start with Skyactiv is the beating heart of any internal combustion engine. The engine, or vehicle. The engine. Mazda aimed to combust fuel with each cylinder as efficiently as possible. To aid the process and prevent knocking, cavities are carved out in the pistons, and the multi-hole fuel injectors are used to ensure precision. The Skyactiv G family of engines, launched in 2011, has extremely high compression ratios, as high as 14-1. For comparison, General Motors' current LS motors, Corvette, have compression ratios settled around 10-1. Let me see who all has. Just want to see what all. Yeah, those are V8 engines, the LS engines. That's interesting though, because I thought, well, I don't know anymore. Depending on that, like a small block engine. So LS1, Chevy Corvette, Camaro, Silverado, Escalade. Yeah, so quite a few. But this is about Mazda. So Mazda claims that its initial Skyactiv transmission offered 4 to 7% improvement in fuel economy, and the Skyactiv body is 8% lighter and 30% more rigid than compared to previous designs. It attempted to make each section of the frame as straight as possible. So they made it lighter. So it took over 130 patents to cover the technologies used in the original Skyactiv engine, and Mazda hasn't stopped pushing for more efficiency. In 2017, Mazda revealed that the Skyactiv X engine was the first commercially available power plant to use spark-controlled compression ignition. An innovative process combines elements of both gasoline and diesel-fueled engines. During the engine cycle, the initial fuel-air mixture is too lean to spark ignition. However, near the top of the compression stroke, additional fuel is injected near the spark to quasi-kindling to kickstart. That's kind of when they were talking about this in the previous sentence. I was like, okay, well, the only way that if you don't have enough fuel-air mixture to spark ignition, you have to increase the compression, and then you basically have to squirt a little bit of juice in there, and the spark will ignite. So as long as the fuel air mixture is high enough. So the engineering artistry isn't meant to pull dollars out of wallets. In European regulators found that 2-liter inline-4 Skyactiv engines could get 50 miles per gallon in the Mazda 3. So time to update your Mazda to, well, a more modern Mazda 3 with Skyactiv X, because 50 miles per gallon is great. Now make it hybrid, and I'm on board. So I want to be able to just put 5 gallons into my ICE component, and it charges my battery, and I run off of battery. And I can go for miles and miles and miles. The best of both worlds. The efficiency translated into electric, so that I'm not waiting for compression to spool up so that I can drive. That's kind of the biggest fallback. It's such a drag. The physics of an internal combustion engine is still like 8-to-1. You put in 8 and you only get 1 out on the other side. But at any rate, that is it for today's 4WheelTech. So a couple of PSA things, go check out the Skyactiv for Mazda. Pay attention to your transmission. Most people don't even care about it until it basically wets the bed. Bronco Sport Badlands is pretty hype, but is it worth the money? I don't like the aesthetic of the Bronco Sport. I love the Bronco, but not the Bronco Sport. I want a Countryman, but not this, because it's electric and I don't want to sit around for 8 hours each day waiting for my damn car to charge up. And I'd love to get an electric motorcycle. Just sounds like it would be a blast. All right. Anyway, that's it for FourWheelTech. We've driven all the way back to the welcome sign of FourWheelTech at ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen. But I'm going to get out of here. My voice is going wonky. So we'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. And that'll probably be it. So be sure to like and subscribe, follow us over on YouTube and on Twitch, and download the podcast and all of that kind of stuff. I think I've said this like 15 times in this episode alone. Anyway, thanks for coming and hanging out. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye.